What's going on, guys? Tony Ivanov here, lead trader and mentor at TradeBuddy. And today we had an awesome day on the stock market. The past 3 days have actually been very awesome. We're finally getting the huge explosive breakouts that we usually see in November, but now it's happening later into the month. The month is almost done, actually. But on Monday we had ANY. Yesterday we had ASNS, which I made a very awesome in-depth review on. So you should go check that out after this video if you want to learn more about why that stock ran. And today we had ALQA, which ran like 300+%, and I actually made $1,500, just a little bit more than $1,500 in 2 trades. The first trade, I bought the breakout over pre-market highs, and I sold that one for just around $1,000 profit. And then the second trade, I bought the very first dip from VWAP, and I made around $500 on that trade. So overall, totaling just over $1,500. So very awesome day, very predictable setups all around. And I'm gonna go into my trades. I'm gonna show you guys my entries, exits, and essentially why I chose these 2 points to trade it. So if you guys want to learn more about this type of stuff, make sure that you follow my channel, hit the subscribe button, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below, and I'll be happy to answer them when I get a chance. All right, so we're gonna get into my screen share and break it all down for you. Alrighty, so here we are on my screen share, and first I just wanted to show you guys the chart of my entries and exits, so you can see I'm going to break it down a lot more in depth, but just get the overview picture. I bought 2,000 shares at 296 on a break over the pre-market highs, and I took those profits at 344 average. I took profits too soon as it looks now, because it hit a high of almost $5, but in the moment that was a very awesome profit, and I just wanted to lock that in. Second, I bought the dip right here on VWAP. I got a very awesome fill there at 378.5, and I took those profits very nicely at the 440 and 430 area. So, and then here's the profit. Where is it? Here it is. $1,545.64 on a total of 3,000 shares. So if you guys have any questions as far as what programs I use, what scanners I use, I have an FAQ in the description below. So you can check that out and answer all the basic questions like what type of charts I use, what broker I use for my trades, and what scanners I recommend to trade with. Alrighty, so on the left hand side we have ASNS. This was yesterday's run, and then today we have ALQA. This was today's run. And like I said in the intro, if you did not watch my video on ASNS, I highly recommend to pause this video even. Watch that one first, because there's a lot of similarities between these two stocks, mainly the morning runs. The afternoon, of course, is very different, as ASNS closed very strong and ALQA closed very weak. But the main thing I want to talk about is ASNS or ALQA right now. This one had merger news today. Let me just bring up the news real quick. Actually, I don't want this like this. It's too big. So ALQA, first off, the news essentially says that it is going to make a spin-off company that is going to be an independent, publicly traded company that is focused on cannabinoid-based pharmaceutical therapies. And that just gave it a huge explosion right at market open. So in pre-market, it showed, the main thing it showed was a lot of range, and in pre-market it was already gapping up like 63%, and its overall support was this 225 level, and pre-market highs was 290. So that's a very big range already, and that just goes to show that, if this stock gets volume, it has big spreads, it has range, it could really squeeze very easily. And then looking at the daily chart, it didn't have a great daily chart, but it did have some obvious resistance here at the 272 area. And one thing to note as well, the whole month leading up to today, it was holding very solid support at 160. So that kind of made a bottom for it and just gave it a huge reason to just explode once news came into it. So at market open, it did have a pretty big sell-off down to this 225 line, but then it bounced right up to 275. So that in itself right away is a $0.50 move in like 3 minutes, and that is one of the main things that should really make you watch this stock. We want to trade stocks that have big range. We don't want to trade stocks that move, 2 cents per share in 3 minutes. We want to trade stocks that move $0.50 per share, because then we can really profit easily from that volatility if we play it right. So you can see it went from 225 up to 275, saw resistance there, came back down and made a nice double bottom here at 225. And I actually was trying to get filled at 225, but it did not dip down there. It dipped to as low as 227, and I didn't get that fill, but that's just fine. I didn't want to chase it into strength just because I knew that this had such a big range. It'd be very dangerous to chase this one into strength. So once I missed that dip buy, I was like, okay, that's fine. We're going to locate another place to trade this stock. The one thing we knew, like I said, is that there was very obvious resistance at 275, and then it was making higher lows. Now, keep in mind, I was watching this stock during my webinar that I do in my Trade Buddy chat room, and I was saying, everyone, you should watch ALQA. It has a very nice flat top wedge. It has good news. It's a low float of only 3.38 million shares, and it's making higher lows. It looks very bullish. Right as I said that, actually I was recording an Instagram live story right as it was breaking out, and I put down my phone and I entered into the stock with a pretty bad average, but I got 296 total with 2,000 shares. So the best place to buy, of course, would have been the double bottom of 225 or the break over 275, but I just wanted to wait just to be safe until the break over pre-market highs and watch this thing squeeze. So once I bought that break over 290, it just shot up immediately. It got halted. Right before the halt, I was taking profits along the way. I sold half my size at 344. And then after the halt, I sold the rest as it came on down, since it looked pretty weak. And that's the first main area. One thing I want to note, like I said, this 275 level is significant, and that's from the daily chart. So always use your historical chart resistances to determine how bullish a stock is. So you can see we have very clear resistance here at 275, and that is the same line that held up today as major resistance in the morning. Once it broke over 275, that's when volume came in, and that's really when it just ramped and exploded. So after that, I didn't want to chase this anymore. I just kept repeating in the webinar that, it's not safe to chase this one, guys. Let it do its thing. It's still very early in the day. We will have another opportunity to trade this stock, and that we did. The next play I was looking for was the dip buy off of this line right here. So 381 was my line. And why did I get that line? So this is a pretty important concept. It's kind of hard to explain. It's one of the things that you just kind of pick up over time of seeing thousands of stocks spike and pull back. But as this was spiking up, so let me just hide the future price action. As the stock was spiking up, I was looking to see, okay, when is this going to pull back and where is it going to dip to? And if we look at the chart, there was a previous resistance which should be support at 424, but it didn't really seem like it was a big enough of a pullback. You can see it bounced right here one time. But the main thing that I saw is that, this break from 425 up to $4.50 isn't really that big of a move. It kind of looks tired at that point. And I really knew that, eventually this has to pull back down to VWAP. And one thing I noticed is that, okay, well, we have this line here, 380s. You can see that it was acting as resistance at this point, and then it acted as support here. So that's kind of a significant level. It acted one time as resistance and one time as support. And the thing about the 425 line is that at this point, it only acted as resistance, and when it broke through, it just kind of blew past it. It never retested and bounced higher. So this 383 level in my mind is more significant. And one thing I noticed is that if we look at the VWAP line, at this point, you can kind of tell that, okay, once the price drops down, by the time it dips, the VWAP will probably be around that 383 level. And once again, that's just kind of one of those things that you pick up as you see so many charts. You can kind of predict where these indicators are going to go. And that's why I chose to have my buy orders at this 380 area. And I actually alerted in chat at like 10:10 a.m. and I said that, you know, I have orders to dip by this at 380 and 375. It's trying to hold the $250 area, but it's too much risk for me to buy there. So that was at 10:10 a.m. and my orders were filled all the way down 20 minutes later. So there's no reason why you would have missed that play if you were in the chat room. And I actually got, you know, a very good fill, almost a bottom tick entry. I had one order at 380 flat and then one order at 377. So very nice fills there. And essentially what I did is that I just left those orders there once I identified the level I wanted to play off of, and then I just left them alone. The thing about these type of dip buys is that you have to be there to catch the price if you want the best possible price. You can't wait until the confirmation and then, you know, buy in afterwards. You're just not going to get a good price. And the thing about you know, trading in general is that you don't want to wait until there's confirmation. Confirmation is a bad thing to enter on. It's something that actually give you more confidence as the trade progresses. One thing that I always say in the chat room is that, you know, you don't need to know what's going to happen next to make money in the market. You just need to have an idea of, okay, this type of dip buy works more often than not. And because I know it works more often than not, I can do a good risk reward ratio. And over time, it's going to be profitable. So on this particular trade, on the dip of 380, my plan was, okay, I'm going to buy the dip around 380, 375. I will cut my loss at 365 if it goes against me. But if it goes in my favor, I'm going to take profits near 450. And the reason why I chose 450 is because I knew that this stock does have range and it could easily bounce up towards that 450 level. I didn't know it was going to go higher. I didn't know, you know, how strong the bounce would be, but that was my plan. I didn't know for sure what was going to happen, but that's just trading. That's the risk of it. So that's how I entered 383s. And then I took profits, you know, at my plan, and then that was that. So very awesome day there on ALQA. Afterwards, it did have a pretty large wedge breakout right here. So this was probably like the easiest trade to make. If you didn't trade it all day, you could have just waited until it formed this beautiful wedge and just buy the breakout of that wedge. Or you could play even smarter and buy along this VWAP support. As you can see, each time it tests a VWAP, it bounced very nicely. So by the time it does it 3-4 times, you can say, okay, pretty good chance that when it hits VWAP, it's going to bounce up, and you could have had a very nice average around this $4 area. By the time it breaks out, you're already up 10%, and then on the massive squeeze, you could sell up nearly $1 per share. So overall, very awesome patterns here on ALQA, and like I said, it looked very similar to ASNS yesterday. I mean, the daily chart or the intraday morning chart has the same overall pattern. It had very large range in pre-market. It dipped down, it found support, and then it squeezed over pre-market highs, got halted, and went higher. It's not the same exact chart, but you can see that these patterns repeat over time. And if you just understand these strategies and you understand the price action, you can repeat the same steps, and you can also make yourself some very nice money. So after it hit the high of 5s, I was kind of done with it. It was already up like 300% at this point, and it was just getting too risky to play it further. The main thing you need to learn is that when the stock is up like 250+% and you haven't traded it at all, just ignore it and wait for the next one. It's already moved so much. Yes, it could go further, but you know, the risk of it falling is a lot greater because it's up so much in one day. Usually stocks that spike 200%, they're not going to last. And you just have to understand how to have discipline and understand when the right time to enter is. And the right times on ALQA are, in my opinion, the break over 275, which was the resistance on the daily chart, or the break over 290, which was pre-market highs, or the first dip off of VWAP. And that's exactly where I played it today. So all in all, Very nice price action. I'm so looking forward into tomorrow. One thing I do want to note is that ANY does look like it has some potential tomorrow. It's not guaranteed, of course, but it's kind of making this nice wedge with higher lows. And then ASNS as well on the 15-minute chart. You know, it had this massive rally, and now it's kind of consolidating under VWAP, and it could squeeze further. So I would prefer to have a brand new stock spike tomorrow, just because there's no, you know, recent resistance overhead, and we could very much have that. I'm just gonna do this same exact thing tomorrow. Look at my scanners in the morning, find what stocks have the highest dollar volume, look at their catalysts, and see if they're good trades. One thing that you should always note with how I trade is that I only focus on stocks that have massive dollar volume, and ASNS, or look at the volume today on ALQA. 39 million shares traded today, when the float is only 3.38 million. That is a massive float rotation, and essentially what that means is that the overall supply available has, you know, changed so many hands that the shorts are, it's harder for shorts to cover when there's that much float rotation. And if you look at the dollar volume, it blows everything else on my scanner out the water. $160 million of volume traded today, and the next stock, AKBA, only did 8.3 million. So very important that you focus on stocks that have big volume, because that's where the big money is going to be found. I don't want to be trading a stock like SHIP, which has $96,000 of volume traded, because there's no money to be made out of that. When there's more money in the stock, there's more money able to be taken out of the stock. That's how I like to look at it. Alrighty, so we're just going to do the same exact thing tomorrow morning. I'm going to start my pre-market webinar half hour before market open, and then we're going to get right into the morning webinar. So hopefully I see you guys in there. There's information down below about the TradeBuddy chat room. I'm in there every day live streaming, giving out all my tips, all my entries and exit plans, and just, you know, helping you guys work out, avoid over trading, and just help you guys not be bored. You know, it's easy to get lost in boredom in the trading game, especially when you're alone and by yourself. But when you can talk to other like-minded traders, it can really help you, you know, keep things in perspective and avoid making bad decisions. Hey, I'm assuming that if you watched this entire video, you saw some great value out of it. I would really appreciate it if you could hit the like button and then hit the subscribe button to be notified of any future videos that I make. Keep in mind, I make videos almost every single day, and I live stream every single day in the TradeBuddy community. All information is down below for that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.